Yo, what's up? It's Lance here. How's it going? So, before I poke fun at Dr. Greer here, I just want to say that I very much respect Dr. Greer. He was really, his material, his documentaries, his books initially. I read his his second book, and that was the kind of thing that really got me into taking this subject seriously, and not only that, it's really helped me throughout my whole life, just to have something to think about, So look, I really respect Steven Greer, and I really respect what he's what he's doing, especially getting as much evidence as possible and just putting it out there. But I don't buy his narrative. Like his ultimate narrative is very, very one-sided. It's a very left-leaning. It's very progressive. And yeah, man, it doesn't add up. In my mind, at least, if you look at the scale of what we're dealing with, So anyway, I know this is sounding probably quite, I don't know. Anyway, I'm wearing my beret. It was the choice between this or fucking a tinfoil hat. So yeah. Anywho, I'm not good at kind of expressing myself through words clearly, so hopefully you might pick up on some of my energy to understand my point. So anyway, let's first pay our respects to Dr. Greer here. He's a great man, and so much we wouldn't know without Dr. Greer, I think. But I criticize this whole narrative, so let's get into it.
Hello, this is Dr. Steven Greer. I hope we're live. I'm going to see if my wife can confirm that. I'm giving you an urgent update on some developing news stories and initiatives that we have launched. The most important of which is that the report from the Director of National Intelligence may in fact be delayed, that is due on June 25th. The former Director of National Intelligence for the last administration 2 weeks ago in an interview said it would be coming early on June 1st. Now what changed? In the interim, as you know, we've been working with Carol Rosin, who is the spokesperson for rocket inventor Wernher von Braun, and senior Russian officials and others around the world to try to get a ban on weapons in space, since those weapons are actually not being designed not for human-to-human conflict, but for targeting extraterrestrial vehicles. And this weapon ban from outer space is a matter of importance to, quite frankly, the survival of this planet. The Russian, Chinese, and American and the Biden administration a few days ago agreed to, in principle, sign this treaty. We have since learned that, in fact, that is most likely a deception and a stalling tactic, and that now the Council on Foreign Relations, in their Foreign Policy Journal, in the last 24 hours, has released a report advising against signing this treaty to ban weapons from outer space. This is all very dynamic and in flux, and it has...
Yeah, so I'm kind of relieved, but I don't think... I mean, there's two things here. I'm just trying to bifurcate them so that I can split it apart for you here, so that you're not just having to kind of feel my energy, so that I can actually put it into words. Okay, so yeah, the first thing is like you're looking up to the narrative that is being pushed here it involves looking up to all extraterrestrials out there, and everything else that is out there is totally just benevolent and peaceful and not of any threat whatsoever. Basically, I've heard that Steven Greer does acknowledge, okay, there are other civilizations out there like us that are like this, like that. Maybe went through a little hostile phase. Maybe going out doing this. I heard that he is slightly aware of that, but why isn't he not explaining that here? Why is Dr. Greer not expressing, showing that he has both sides, rather than only being very, very one-sided here? That's the first thing. The second thing is like, okay, these world leaders that have decided to say, fuck off, we're not signing this thing that means we can't have space-based weapons. Like, do other extraterrestrials out there have the right to defend themselves, or to have weapons? It's not even about do you have the right to defend yourself. It's like, do you have the right to own a weapon, and who is what authority says you can and you can't, and of course it's like, as soon as you hear me say that, you're like, well, you're just saying that so that you can get weapons and you can, in your mind, and you can go and hurt people. Like, whoa, why would I do that? Or why would someone or something or an organization with this disposition do that? No, it's just like, who is the it's like, yeah, that may very well be okay to ban all weapons, but then you need to explain, like, what is the authority here that is warranting us all to make that decision? Like, otherwise you're just blindly putting your faith into something. So it really seems like people who are following Dr. Greer and who take him seriously, they really need some kind of blind faith. Really, you must have you would really require blind faith or an ignorance of this part to totally go with Dr. Greer. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I saw. That's pretty much what I saw in my time in doing CE5s and hanging out with the CE5 crew, the Disclosure Project crew. I mean, all those people that I hung out with. This was generally what was the narrative that was being pushed within those groups by the cheer people, by the organizers. I mean, there was various other dialogue within the group about various other aspects of it. How about Randy Kramer? How about Corey Good? How about this? How about that? But those groups, the CE5 groups, they're controlled very well. Like, as the chairman of that group, you're not allowed to. Basically, it's in the rules. You can't let people talk about pretty much different stuff at the events. So already that's looking very, it's like borderline cult-like, like just trying to police the way people have to think in these groups. And I mean, it's very well intended. I mean, it's very well intended, I understand, but there shouldn't be a need to enforce it the way they're enforcing it. Like, I mean, I've had some pretty chill, like, CE5 instructors that we went with, and they didn't push it too much. They were just like, look, this is the Disclosure Project, and like they seemed to not have too much of their eggs all in Dr. Greer's basket. Even the group I went here with in Denmark, they kicked me out of their group, but they were still not, like, they weren't all in on Dr. Greer. Like they agreed what he's doing, but they're not all in on it. Like I really get this feeling like a lot of people that follow Dr. Greer, correct myself there, they I don't think they're all in. Like are you really all in 100% with this right here? That everyone out there is just peace and loving. There's no need for any weapons or anything like this. You know, like there's something there, you know. Leave me a comment down there and tell me what you think.
It has to do a great deal with a report that came out 2 days ago that it may be that the Director of National Intelligence report that by statute and law is due on no later than June 25th of this year will be delayed. What's happening, the best our assessment from intelligence sources, is that because of what we have been doing behind the scenes with officials both in the United States and in other countries, and in particular in Russia, where we now have a very senior retired general who publicly came forward recently stating that we are not alone in the universe, that the extraterrestrials are not hostile, and that there have been all kinds of disinformation.
They're not hostile. None of them are hostile. They're all peaceful.
They are, but in reality, they are not. And that this is an urgent reason why we need to have weapons banned from space, because we are sharing space with other civilizations and other cosmic cultures. Now, this videotape, which was loaded on a non-governmental site that is headed up by a cosmonaut who's working with us, who is the main trainer of astronauts and cosmonauts for Russia that go up to the space station and elsewhere, Timothy Igorov. Interview by this general was put up, their site was crashed and disappeared off YouTube. They have since gotten it back up. But what we're finding is that because we have been advising that other countries, since neither, all the way back to my meeting with the most senior people in the Clinton administration, no U.S. administration has been willing to truthfully disclose this issue. But we know that the covert interests have authorized this report from the Director of National Intelligence, which will present this as a national security threat, quote unquote. Which is
okay. So now he's jumping over to the nemesis, this conspiracy to fucking like I think he's heading down the track of a false flag alien attack to make it, look, if the day of disclosure, however it happens, okay, it doesn't matter if it's a violent way or a non-violent way that they do it. As soon as we know that there are that the universe is really this big and there is so much other trading options, business options, all of the culture, excitement, lifestyle, people, sexuality, consciousness, everything that's going on this planet is all times by infinity. All we need is just like, this thing is just like this, right? All we need is just like one thing to flick it open. It doesn't matter whether, does it really matter whether, in the long run, in the grand scheme of things, when you look at how, how significant this change is, it doesn't really matter that much whether it's done in a violent way or a non-violent way. It doesn't fucking matter. Look, if you look at it at the grand scheme of things, it's like, I don't want any violence, stop the violence. Look, I hate it. I hate violence, I hate violence. I'm fucking, You know, I avoid conflict wherever I fucking can, you know? I hate fucking arguing. I hate fighting, you know. I just fucking avoid it, you know what I mean? But it's not about that. It's just like, it doesn't matter how this happens. It's going to benefit everyone, okay? There's no way you could open up this planet to the rest of the universe in the long term. There's no way in the long term you could keep a leash on that, okay? No. Forget it, okay? There's no way you can keep a leash on that in the long term. Doesn't matter whether you have a peaceful disclosure or a neutral disclosure or a violent disclosure. These are all like buzzwords, okay? That's what would actually follow is not something you know, probably we can't even conceptualize it, you know. So it's really violent, non-violent. It wouldn't really matter. So he's spinning this narrative that there are these you know, conspirators, these fucking people planning some false flag alien. All right, let's listen to what he says and then we'll talk about it after.
Completely false. The complete truth is the only threat that have come from UFOs have come from man-made ones. And as you know from following the research we have done, we have dispositive evidence, in fact proof, that many of the UFOs that are seen are made by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, and other aerospace contractors. Yeah, and we have many people on our team who have confirmed that. Additionally, we have a document signed in the handwriting and written in penmanship by the head of the Lockheed Skunk Works, who has confirmed that in 1986, when he wrote the letter, that UFOs were both ours, man-made, and, quote, extraterrestrial. Now, the reason this is so important is that the biggest part of the secrecy has nothing to do with extraterrestrials. It has to do with the deceptive plans to use man-made UFOs to present an existential threat to the world.
I think I bought this.
In other words, they want to set up a false flag operation that looks like War of the Worlds, where the whole thing is being orchestrated by covert man-made assets. You will notice that this narrative is missing from every news report, every so-called ufologist who appears on Fox News and elsewhere. Because
that's true. Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's like, yeah, you know, like we've seen all of the we've seen so many different movies, right, in the media, and you know, fucking, I mean, and the just the narratives that you hear about the pop culture aspect of it, you know, whether it's Hollywood, whether it's the movies, whether it's whatever, you know, whether it's the general consensus is about the subject, you know, it's always, you know, you never hear this the idea that about a false flag alien attack, you know, like it's never been scripted in any movie. It's almost like I guess, yeah, you could make that argument. I can understand how you can make that argument that it's it would seem that it's been narrative has been purposely removed. Not removed, but purposely not published in some way. Yeah. So yeah, I can understand where Dr. Greer is coming at with that one. Yeah.
Well, they have been authorized to tell half the truth, which is much more dangerous than a lie. Basically, what they're saying is, yes, the UFOs are real, and then they add the lie as follows: they cannot be ours because we don't know how they work. That's a big lie. And the other big lie is they're a threat to the national security, which is also a lie. Mm. So what they've done is create talking points.
Yeah, so I do agree with this. So there is obviously some narrative within some interest groups, very powerful interest groups connected to the government, or you know, within that whole fucking you know, that branch of the Pentagon, ATIP, you know, all that crap, that that seems it would like to organize some sort of false flag alien attack. And but who's to say that? What's to say that that is necessarily a bad thing in the grand scheme of things? You know, it could be that that interest group, with those interests that are doing that, they can see, you know, how great this, well, how vast the implications of disclosure are. They can see how vast and significant to what they can see, what they can get from it. They know that everyone else will also benefit from it, but they can see what they can benefit from it, which is a lot, you know. Everyone else will inevitably benefit from it. So yeah, it's not off. It's not off my fucking chart to consider that one. That these interest groups, they may. I'm not saying that they are like actually all benevolent. I'm not saying that the fucking CIA, ATIP, that part of the Pentagon are like benevolent, you know, like some peaceful. No, I'm sure they have both sides to them, but I'm just saying in general, they may just see that this is just the that disclosure is the best way to go, and that this is their plan for disclosure. This may be just like plan A, you know. They may have plan B lined up. They may have a peaceful disclosure option lined up, but I'm just saying that it looks like this just may be a plan, you know. And the thing is, we're not seeing this on such a grand scale. Like we're not yet hearing. It's not yet like everyone's hearing on the news like, oh, aliens are a threat. You know, UFOs are a threat. No, it's not like we're hearing that on a mass scale. So it seems like that is coming from a small just interest group. You know, they haven't got such a big influence yet.
That senators like Marco Rubio and others who have not been briefed appropriately or in detail yet on this and are using talking points generated by this criminal cabal of unacknowledged special access projects are just sort of parroting whatever it is that they're being told. The problem with that is it all preserves the element of surprise. What do I mean by this? What that means is that if the national military command structure, the White House, and most of the Senate, as well as most of the Pentagon and most of the CIA, do not know and have not been read into the existence of these sorts of technologies, which can be stage-crafted, as they call it, and stage events that look alien, then anything that happens will be thought to be extraterrestrial when it is not. This is the heart of the secrecy. Not only are the technologies extraordinary and would save the world's biosphere and would give us an entirely new civilization without pollution or poverty, but by keeping it secret, it preserves their 70-year strategic plan, which was concocted in the 40s and 50s, to at some point play this card, as Werner von Braun told Carol Rosin, as the big threat from space that could unite the world around a militaristic.
I reckon, you know, their motivation, if what I'm like, I don't necessarily subscribe to the you know what I'm saying. I'm just putting things out there, you know, because I also just want to see what people have to say so that I can get closer to the truth somehow, you know. You know, it could be that their motivations for pushing this narrative, for these plans that these military industrial complex have had for 50 years or since the 50s, whatever, Werner von Braun, that he started it, and you know, planning for this false flag alien attack since back then. Like way back then, they probably didn't really grasp the implications of it, or they probably didn't see that. You know, they probably were thinking in a very primitive way socially, you know. They probably wouldn't have been able to conceptualize that actually disclosure just means, you know, everybody wins. it's very difficult to make only them win if they have militaristic disclosure. You know, it it would only be very short. It would be very short lived. You know, if it worked, this false flag, militaristic disclosure. You know, it would be very short lived, because eventually those other economics that would be happening off world and with whatever ET races, it would just blow open. So I think I'm just putting forward this thought. It's like, yeah, they were just they had a very naive idea. They were very naive in that they thought, maybe we can. Or they thought, yes, we can control the whole. We can, create a one world government by having a militaristic, alien invasion, false flag alien invasion to get the whole world to unite, and then we get them. But nah, man, if it does involve genuine disclosure, even in one aspect, then it's going to just blow open and benefit everyone eventually.
Totalitarian effort. That's what's happening. It's happening right now. It's unfolding before our eyes. And the fake disclosure that the government is planning may be delayed a little bit, but we can't count on it.
If they were smart, they would just try to prevent disclosure at all costs.
That we have never done before. The director of Unacknowledged and Close Encounters.
No, I'm sorry. What I mean is, if they were, well, they're not very smart in either case. But I'm saying if they were smart about keeping their own power, they would just do everything within their power to prevent any kind of disclosure, peaceful or a militaristic takeover style. They would avoid both if they were smart about keeping their power.
Of the Fifth Kind and his team and my team are doing an emergency open source documentary film. It'll be short, an hour, maybe a little longer. That will be called The Cosmic Threat, an expose. This is something we want to create and release by early June. Now, no one's ever done a feature film like this in less than 2 months, but we need to do it, and we need your help. If you go to ce5film.com, you'll see we have a crowdfunding site up. And we're going to also do an event in Scottsdale, Arizona, at a private home on April 25th, 2021, for the 20th anniversary of the National Press Club launch of the Disclosure Project that was on May 9th, 2001. This event is going to be live streamed by webinar that you can join, and the support we get from that and the people who appear at the house with us will help, I hope, defray the cost of this emergency documentary that has to come out. We will have with me at this home in Scottsdale constitutional attorney Daniel Sheehan, myself, Carol Rosen, who was the spokesperson for Werner von Braun and was given the task by him to work to prevent the placement of weapons in outer space so that we could have peaceful contact with these extraterrestrial civilizations. Paula Harris, who is going to be revealing a case that is new and that is more important than Roswell, has better evidence and is more significant. And it has to do with the extraterrestrial civilizations concerned with our atomic and nuclear weapons and what effect those have on the fabric of the universe. We will also be have joined with us, I hope all of you, but also by internet, the cosmonaut I referred to who trains astronauts and cosmonauts in Russia with astounding new information and evidence, and video from the military generals who are coming forward in Russia confirming that we're not alone. And we're also planning to have a sort of an ambassador at large for peace and space who is now living in Russia, an actor that many of you know named Steven Seagal, who is very devoted to helping us get this message out to the public, and he's planning to join us, of course, by internet. I hope you all will join us for this, and those of you who can join us in person. It's a fundraising event. The information is on our website and will be sent out, and there will be links underneath this video. Unfortunately, it's a private home. It can only hold about 20 guests, so it's a large private home. But I hope a few of you can join us for this event on Sunday, the 25th of April, and then stay the rest of the week through Thursday evening, the 29th of April, where we will not be doing a webinar, but we'll have a whole week where we will be recording the secret history of disclosure, and also how contact is made and the relationship between disclosure, extraterrestrial contact, and close encounters of the fifth kind. That the entire 5-day program, again, will be available to just around, at the most, 20 people, unfortunately, because we just don't have a facility that will hold more at this time because of the pandemic. Now, the other thing that we want to invite you to help us with is networking new dispositive military evidence and documents to stream and put out in this event on April 25th of this year, and in this emergency documentary, A Cosmic Threat. We want to, this hoaxing of a cosmic threat, by the way, is exactly what we had predicted back in the 90s, and that Werner von Braun had told Carol Rosin would happen way back in 1974. He had known about it apparently from the 50s, and perhaps a little sooner. So we're now living in a time, unfortunately, where on the heels of this terrible pandemic, there are plans to falsely disclose an alien threat and then stage events that would terrify everyone on the planet. The only way that that will not be done is that it's exposed in advance. For this reason, and listen very carefully to how we need your help on this, we only need the funding help to get this documentary created and finished in 2 months, which we've never done. But we're going to release it.
It's already exposed, you know. It's like, what can they do more to expose it? What are they going to do? I mean, or we as in the Disclosure Project, you know. What could we do? Or they? Maybe you feel like I'm not worthy of being in the Disclosure Project. I don't know. But what are they going to do? I mean, he's talked about his 100 monkey theory, that if we get 1% of the world, so like 75 million people to be like you know, in meditation together, and I've done it too. You know, I've felt certain things connected with you know, a certain extraterrestrial, and both me and one of the guys in the group, we felt it, you know, together. And so, but like, yeah, it's. No, I'm not buying it. I don't see why you should buy it. Like, what authority is saying that that's definitely the case? You know, like it's a very. I mean, just ask yourself the question. Okay, ask yourself the question: are you 100% about that? Do you really put all of your eggs in that basket? You know, do you really, you know, like 100%, like, go into your mind. Let me just say it right now. Let's go into our mind. Okay, and to all the people out there who follow Steven Greer 100% and just back him 100%, that's okay. Now go into your mind and into your heart, your mind, your spirit, your eternal self. Do you really buy into 100%? And do you really feel 100% with Steven Greer's narrative? Do you really trust him? I mean, do you really trust this narrative that he's pushing? Are you really willing to put everything on the line for that? Are you willing to go all in on that? So just ask yourself a question about that. So,
open source. Now, what do I mean by that? We are not contracting with a film distributor who can tie it up, not for a nanosecond. It will be released to everyone to be put on all their YouTube and other sites, BitChute, whatever it is, by everyone in the world. We will ask every celebrity supporter of universal peace, people like Demi Lovato and Danica Patrick and many other people who are very involved and concerned about what's happening, to put it out to their hundreds of millions of followers. And we're going to ask that each of you take it, you have my permission, put it on your site, on other sites, on everyone you know, and get it out there. We want at least 1 billion people by this summer to know what the truth about this is and to see this evidence. In this film and on this April 25th event,
billion people
will be webinaring that you can join us remotely by computer. We will also be presenting the diagrams and models of the man-made UFOs that have been created and been used in host alien quote-unquote events that are all man-made. We will have that evidence there, and it will be presented. So I hope you can help us not only create this emergency documentary, but also join us on
Cosmic
April
Thread, right? That's what he's talking about.
On Sunday. But also, if you can come in person, just let us know. Again, it's a very small group because of the exigencies and limits of the pandemic. And that when we have this finished, be ready to receive it, download it, and put it on every site in the world, including Russia, China, India, all over the world. This cannot just be an American.
I don't think the CCP is going to...
It must be global. Because at this point,
don't see the fucking Chinese Communist Party letting that through on fucking WeChat, Weibo, or any of it. They wouldn't let it through.
How do you neutralize the threat? You expose their plans before they do it.
I know them. They fucking wouldn't do it.
Listen to just what I said. We must expose not only what they're doing, but how they're going to do it. What are the assets? What do those aircraft look like? How are they functioning? How might this unfold? We know this information. We have the technology information. We have the schematics. We have the people who worked on them and built them. And the really sad thing is that you have Mr. Radcliffe, who is the Director of National Intelligence, and Senator Marco Rubio specifically saying that these UAPs, which is, again, another fake word they've made up after UFOs, which also is a fake word. When they came up with UFOs, by the way, they already knew that they were both man-made and extraterrestrial, just as Ben Rich, the head of Lockheed, stated. But they have both asserted in the last 2 weeks in mainstream media interviews that these, quote, UAPs are moving in a way, going faster than the speed of sound, but not creating a sonic boom, and that, quote, we don't have that technology. That is absolutely...
Just to be clear, yeah, we do have... So anyone can... everyone understands, like... I'm pretty sure it's clear, right? I'm pretty sure you know that I'm not denying the fact that this technology has been developed since the 50s at least. I fully accept that, and I've even made my own short little documentary about that. And, 100%, even anti-gravity, interstellar travel is easily possible purely with human technology. Nothing that you would find in mainstream academia. Like nowhere in mainstream academia, quantum physics even, you wouldn't find it, but it has been there all along in the pure electrical theory, which was rooted in an alchemical interpretation of a field theory, actually, which was, studied and perfected almost by people like Nikola Tesla, James Clerk Maxwell, Heaviside, Jefferminko, Oleg D. Jefferminko. You should read his books. So I fully understand that. I've done my research with that. I'm not denying the fact that the technology has been possible with human resources, with human intellectual and hard resources, to do it since at least the 50s or even the 30s. I know that. I'm not denying that.
Absolutely not true. I have personally interviewed engineers who have built that technology.
Agreed.
And who have worked on them all the way back into the 50s and 60s.
Yep.
And more recently. So have my aerospace researchers and team members. So for the Director of National Intelligence and the ranking member of the Senate Intelligence Committee to be making these statements, they are either completely uninformed or they are repeating a talking point that is a lie. Either way, that is extremely dangerous, because in the absence of the knowledge of the truth and the repeating of that lie by the mainstream media over and over and over again, the public is going to think any terrible thing that happens with something that looks like a UFO is quote unquote alien, when in fact it isn't.
Yeah, there's a very strong narrative for that.
And it is part of an attempt to deceive the public and also to get a lot of funding. Recently, a member of my team was talking to Luis Elizondo, who was the gentleman who, of course, was at the Pentagon, was known as a master counterintelligence disinformation agent, who came out with the Tic Tac footage. And he said, quite frankly, and this was off the record, that they know that the extraterrestrials are not hostile, but that you cannot get funding for the defense industry and Pentagon unless there is, quote unquote, a threat. Subsequently, I was in a Clubhouse interview with George Knapp, who very honestly, and I commend him for this, said, look, you can't get money for dandelions and butterflies. What does that mean? We were talking about the fact that the only way you can get money and support for the defense establishment is that if there is a national security threat.
It's the defense, it's the defense department, of course, yeah.
It's all about power and money, my friends. And he said that that's why dandelions and butterflies, which was his sort of joking term about CE5 peaceful contact and making peace in space and having world peace.
They're making a dichotomy there. It's not. No, it's not like, it's either this or it's this or it's nothing else. You know what I mean? There is a real dichotomy there that they've constructed. It's not necessarily like that.
You really can't grow the military-industrial complex by trillions of dollars and unite the world around militarism, fascism, and what I call exo-racism, the hatred of other species. Unless you...
Yeah, he's real big on his racism. It's very... Yeah, he doesn't really have any, he's just been like flung way over to the left. There's nothing pulling him back to the center from the other direction. He's just a very a very biased lefty is what Dr. Greer is. As much as I respect him, he's a very biased lefty.
Presented as a threat.
Emotionally biased.
Unfortunately, that is
emotionally sell that to people.
Thinking, but it is unfortunately very Washington and very much about money and power. So I think that those of us who are concerned with peace with the future.
So yeah, I don't know, like, I'm not trying to put any conspiracy into it, like anything crazy. Like, I'm not trying to say that I'm not necessarily trying to say that he's a reptilian and he's actually doing this to falsely deceive humanity, to get us to lower our guard, to get us to take the weapons out of space so that someone else can control us, who is using Dr. Greer as a, somehow. I'm not necessarily saying that, though. I wouldn't necessarily rule out something like that. Maybe not nothing like that extreme, but it might not necessarily even involve aliens. It may even be his religious faction. Dr. Greer is a a Baha'i, I think. Yeah, I don't know too much about Baha'ism, whatever. I looked into it very briefly, actually. I met some Baha'i people in Auckland, New Zealand, a long time ago, many years ago, when I first started getting into the Disclosure Project, because I found out Dr. Steven was a Baha'i, and I was like, oh, maybe I should try and become a Baha'i, So I don't know. I'll have to look into that, but there could be some influence from there, or it doesn't necessarily have to be that he's, that he's a reptilian or an agent of the Greys, or what the fuck. It could just be something very explainable.
Of this planet for ourselves, our children, and our grandchildren. I'm expecting our 11th grandchild this year.
Congratulations!
We really have got to step up the game, because this is all coming to a head.
And
so I'm making this
God
appeal
bless
to
Dr.
all
Greer.
of you.
God bless
Share
his
this
family,
video with your friends and family. Go to ce5film.com and help support this.
I support Dr. Greer as much as I can.
Join us and join the webinar.
What he's doing is
on,
good, but
April 25th.
I question his narrative.
5 hours.
I question his motives.
And those of you who can, if you can join us in Scottsdale, Arizona, for that 5-day period from April 25th until through April 29th, we would really love to have you there. It'll be fun. We'll have a great time. And we're all counting on everyone coming together who are ambassadors to the universe in peace, and who want the truth out and want a future not of endless war, but a future of universal peace. Because that is.
You should read War and Peace by Lev Tolstoy. If you want to have an understanding of that, I've gotten past a few chapters of the book, and it's very, you get to see both sides, and ultimately, there's no oh fuck, man, he's trying to sell some utopian vision. It's like, you never. It's so naive, I don't know. I don't see how is he really that naive, or is he potentially, is there some agenda? Does he have something else controlling him? Some other influence, I should say. It doesn't have to be fucking Greys or reptilians or whatever the fuck. It could just be that, there's some other influence here, maybe.
Our destiny. Thank you very much, and I hope to see all of you soon.
Thank you, Dr. Greer.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. God bless. So yeah, once again, I pay my sincere respects to Dr. Greer, but I just want to question his narrative, and his motives, and what's really going on, because if he had some Pleiadian ambassador next to him, so that could prove that who they were, and they were standing next to the spaceship and hey, we're the Pleiadians, yeah, this is Dr. Greer, he's cool, man, he knows everything, and he's here to help you guys, and we confirm, and then some other extraterrestrials are there, and we could see it, we hit something, we need something. If it's just one dude, just by himself, just selling this narrative, how the fuck do I know, man? But yeah, again, man, I just want the truth, man, and I put this stuff out there because you have to criticize everything. Like, what fucking authority are you or whoever to tell me not to criticize Dr. Greer, you know? So yeah, I hope to get some good comments, feedback from this video. You know, that's what it's all about. So yeah, thank you if you watched this through, and yeah, you can think about subscribing to my channel here if you want to see more videos like this, or you can also join me on one of my Facebook groups. I'll put them in the link in the description. Peace.